You know how sometimes one small, seemingly innocent moment can completely change the course of someone's life? Well, what if I told you that a simple request for a new sorry ended up tearing a family apart and led one brother down a path to dealing with a dangerous gang? That's the story we're diving into today. It's all about two brothers, their super popular chicken daba, and how just one little seed of greed managed to poison absolutely everything.
All right, so our story kicks off in this quiet little village, Netterhot, in Jharkhand. I want you to picture this: a bustling roadside food stall, a dhaba, run by two brothers, Ravi and Gopal. And they're famous for their chicken and rice. I mean, people come from all over for it. Life is good, business is just booming. But like this quote says, fate, and yeah, a big dose of greed, well, it's about to step in and just flip their whole world upside down.
So yeah, before everything went south, things were actually pretty perfect. These two brothers, they weren't just business partners, they were a real team. And that little dhaba of theirs, it was basically the heart of the whole village.
I mean, look at how this was set up. It was exactly what their father had wanted for them, right? Work together, split all the profits, 50-50, and for a while there, it really worked. The younger brother, Gopal, he was the engine of the whole operation. This guy was up at 5 a.m. every single day, prepping everything from scratch. And Robbie, the older brother, he was the face of the place, running the front. They were a perfect duo, truly unstoppable.
But of course, that's when things start to get complicated. Success can have a dark side, right? With more money flowing in, new pressures start to build. And that's when this little feeling of injustice begins to creep in, slowly poisoning what was once a pretty perfect partnership.
And would you believe where it all started? With these words right here. So, Ravi tells his wife Anjali that he can't afford a new sari she wants, and her response? Wow. She just plants this dangerous little seed in his head. Why are you working together? Just go out on your own, you'll make way more money. Just like that. A simple but totally poisonous thought that just started to grow.
And you can literally see the shift happening right here on this slide. Gopal, he stays the same, hardworking, content. But Ravi, his whole mindset just twists. He starts telling himself this story, hey, I'm the one doing all the real work here. And that resentment, it festers until it leads him to do something completely unthinkable. He decides he's going to frame his own brother just to take over the business for himself. So here's the plan he cooked up. One day, Ravi secretly sabotages the food. I'm talking dumping in way too much salt and chili. So of course, the customers start complaining, right? And that's when he makes his move. He pounces. He stands up and accuses Gopal, right there in front of everyone, of ruining the food. And then he says it, get out of here. Just like that, he kicks his own brother out of the business they built together from the ground up.
But here's the thing about Gopal. You can't keep a good man down for long. His wife, Renuka, she had absolute faith in him. She actually gives him her own jewelry and tells him to sell it, to start again. So he does. He opens up this small food cart. And what do you know? His food is just as delicious as ever, and pretty soon he starts winning back his old customers one by one.
Now, you'd think seeing his brother succeed again would maybe make Ravi, reconsider his choices. Nope, it just made him angrier. His jealousy completely took over, and it pushed him down a path that was way, way darker and a whole lot more dangerous.
So watching all those customers line up for Gopal's food, well, that just sent Ravi right over the edge. He was absolutely desperate for more money, and he wanted it fast. And then, almost as if on cue, this old acquaintance named Jyotish shows up with the solution, one that was just as tempting as it was illegal.
So Jyotish takes Ravi to this old, creepy, abandoned factory, and there he introduces him to a gang. And what's their business? Selling illegal goods. They lay out the offer for Ravi. He can use his dhaba as a front to sell their stuff. I mean, the deal was simple, and for a guy like Ravi, incredibly tempting. They told him he could make more money in a single month than he'd normally make in an entire year.
But this deal came with a very clear, very chilling threat. The gang made it plain. If you tell anyone about this, it won't be good for you. And Ravi was, terrified. But then he goes home and tells his wife, and all she sees are dollar signs, or, well, rupee signs. She's the one who pushes him, telling him the risk is totally worth it. And so, ignoring every single alarm bell going off in his head, Ravi agrees. He says yes.
So, Ravi got what he thought he wanted. A ton of money. But, as you can probably guess, that money came with a huge price tag. It brought a wave of trouble, and a kind of guilt that was about to completely drown him. And the money, just look at this chart. It was staggering. His daily earnings just shot through the roof.
But his daba was completely transformed. It wasn't a family place anymore. It became this magnet for drunks and trouble, just full of fights and tension all the time. So yeah, Ravi was rich, but he was also living in constant, gut-wrenching fear.
You know, the thing that finally got to him wasn't a police raid or another threat from the gang. It was just a few words he overheard from some villagers on his way home one night. Hearing them say he'd completely shamed his father's name, well, that was the thing that finally broke through all that greed. He finally realized the family legacy he was completely destroying. And it went deeper than just his family's name. As he kept listening, he heard them talking about the real damage he was doing. They were saying that ever since he started selling all this stuff, his business was poisoning the entire community, causing fights in homes all over the village. And that's when the full weight of it all just came crashing down on him. He knew. This had to stop.
But, you know, getting out isn't so simple when you're in business with a gang. They weren't just going to let him walk away. They threatened him, and he knew they meant it. He was completely trapped. And in that moment, he realized there was only one true way out, even though it seemed impossible. He had to go to the police. He had to confess everything, even if it meant going to prison.
So Ravi's confession, that was the end of one chapter of this story, for sure. But it was also the beginning of a whole new one. What comes next is all about the fallout, the consequences, and, ultimately, a really powerful final confrontation.
So, Ravi's testimony did the trick. It was powerful. The police were able to arrest the entire gang, and that whole illegal operation got shut down for good. Because he cooperated, Ravi was sentenced to just 1 year in prison. So a year later, he's finally released. He returns to his village a changed man, but he has absolutely no idea what kind of reception he's about to get.
And yeah, it was even worse than he'd feared. The villagers, with the headman leading the charge, they immediately surround him, and their words are just filled with anger and shame. You've dragged our entire village's name through the mud. And Ravi, he just stands there, head down, taking it all in. He knows he deserves it.
But then, just when it seems like the whole world is against him, a single voice cuts through all that angry noise, and you're not going to believe who it is. It's Gopal, the very brother he betrayed. He steps forward and actually defends Ravi. He reminds everyone, hey, be quiet. Yes, my brother may have started all this, but he's also the one who had the courage to put an end to it. And that moment of forgiveness from Gopal was the real turning point. Ravi just breaks down, he apologizes, and his brother embraces him. The rift between them was finally healed. And right there, they decided to start over, together, running the Daba just the way their father had always wanted them to.
So in the end, the moral of this whole story is really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Never do wrong deeds. I mean, think about it. What you do to other people, it can come back to you. Ravi betrayed his brother for money, and he ended up with nothing. But it was his final act of courage that brought him back from the brink. His whole journey is just this perfect, painful reminder of that simple truth.
This story gives us one version of what redemption can look like, but it definitely leaves us with some pretty big questions, doesn't it? What really is the true price of greed? And is forgiveness always possible for every betrayal? And maybe the biggest one of all, how often do we, in our own lives, face that choice between the easy, wrong path and the hard, right one? It's a lot to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.